Hey viewers, this video is meant as a response to the Volibear patch preview that was released yesterday or the day before. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, it is meant as a response to the ratings that basically were given there, as well as the fact that a lot of viewers asked me to respond, and I didn't want to make that response just to them. I wanted to make it an overall response. So as you can see, the ratings on this video are 6,000 positives, including mine by the way, and 19,000 negatives, which is incredible. I mean, I've never seen those kind of numbers. Maybe more patch previews have that, but this is incredible. So first of all, we're going to look at what they actually are planning to change. So I grouped them in three categories. First of all, they're trying to change Sivir, then they're going to do some jungle modifications, and then they have some systemic changes to affect the gameplay. Well, first of all, Sivir. They're going to change her short range into long range, which is excellent in my opinion, because Sivir is unplayable as an AD carry at this moment. She cannot go mid because, well, whoever needs an AD mid, because the AD doesn't really need the levels basically, so you normally want an AP champion mid so that they can actually level up really quickly. And then as a top champion she doesn't really, well, match up to the rest, because as a top champion she gets killed way too easily, and yeah, she cannot really survive there. So basically the short range to long range should allow her to be an AD carry. Then the W from toggle to next hit, yeah, don't really care, to be honest. It's the same as with Ashe's Q, the frost arrow. If you are capable of playing Ashe or Sivir, then you should be able to toggle or next hit, use the next hit, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's not a real change anyway, because they're not changing anything. Then the innate is going from dodge to movement speed. This is part of the removal of dodge, I'm assuming. But I don't understand why they're going from well, basically a damage reduction thing to more aggressive thing, because it is if you hit someone then you get additional movement speed. So if you hit a champion with the basic attack, which means it's kind of offensive, you cannot use it to get away, and dodge was meant to allow you to get away, or to at least decrease the damage. I would have expected something, well, more defensive here. But I guess it's explainable if we look at the systemic changes later, so I'll explain that now and we'll get to that. But they want to make the game a little more offensive, and although this is not the way you should be doing it, it does work. By doing it this way, you're removing a defensive skill, you're adding an offensive skill, basically making the champion a little more offense based. As I said, this is not the way you should do that, but if you want to know how you should do that, you should watch one of my other videos with the balancing changes in them, because that video actually discusses how you can turn this game into a balanced game, and then you can choose whether to go offensive, defensive, neutral, whatever. Anyway, not what I wanted to discuss here. The jungle changes then. The jungle camps are going to be easier. There are going to be small rewards, or smaller rewards early and then bigger late game. So basically the gold is going to ramp up. There are going to be faster respawns on the small camps, and we're going to see small buffs. So first of all, on the whole, I think the whole jungle modification process is crap. I will get to that in some of the next slides, but that's my opinion on that. Then the systemic changes. Health pots are going to heal less. There's less damage from minions to champions, less slow from lizard buff to melee champions. So those are all the changes that are discussed in the patch preview, and we are going to watch some more or discuss some more on the jungle changes as well as the systemic changes. So first of all, we're going to look at jungle. So what does making the jungle easier kind of well, what does that do for the game? Basically, easier jungle means you have less opportunity to kill the jungle while he's doing golem or lizard, because those are the camps where the jungler normally goes to very low HP. It takes him quite some time to actually do those camps, and yeah, as a counter jungler, you basically don't get that opportunity anymore, because the golem and lizard are going to die much quicker, and therefore, yeah, it is going to affect the counter jungling. So the smaller rewards early on means you're going to have less early ganks, because smaller rewards means less XP, less gold. So the jungler who normally is ahead like one level in the really early game before he goes back to base is now not going to be that far ahead anymore, and he's going to be, well, maybe half a level ahead, or maybe he's level 2 when you're level 1, but yeah, you can normally get level 3 before the lane, the bottom laners, for example, get to level 2. So that ganking potential is going to be reduced by having less XP and less gold. Then faster respawns, which means basically that you're going to have to do more camps, or you can do more camps in the same amount of time, and you're going to have to choose between going to gank or, well, basically killing more jungle stuff. Combined with the smaller rewards, you're going to get the same experience over time. You're also going to get the same gold over time. But by ganking, you will not get this, the same loss of gold, because at this moment you will not lose any XP or potential XP. You will not lose any potential gold, because the minions just haven't respawned in your jungle. So there's all the time in the world to go ganking and still be okay in the XP and gold departments. While if your gank fails now, yeah, that is going to suck for you. So it is going to yield less predictable jungling. I really like that, but there are several other ways to do that, and I don't think this is the way to do it. So what is going to cause most is more asymmetry between blue and purple teams, because if you're in the blue team, that means if you spawn in the bottom left, then you will be able to kill the small golems and go into the bottom lane, being about half a level ahead of your opponents, meaning that every time you level up you will be ahead of them, and that is huge. To many of the less experienced players this doesn't seem to be a whole big deal, but trust me, it is. And even with the smaller rewards early, it is still if you give the experience to one of the bottom laners, for example your carry, which would be the best choice obviously, he is going to be, well, way ahead still. Maybe you cannot get half a level for both of them, but you can at least get half a level for your carry. And because of the faster respawns, the golems will be up way before the jungler gets to it, no matter what his pattern is, unless he starts at double golems, but yeah, well, that's a whole different matter of course. On the purple team, you cannot do this. You can do this as a top laner, I guess, but as a top laner, yeah, you would take a whole lot of damage because you are only one person and you don't have a smite, and it's going to be more difficult to kill it. Anyway, it causes asymmetry. Then the small buffs, it gives you, well, from what I saw in the video, it is just a red buff and a blue buff, but then for a very short amount of time. I'm not sure what it's going to do, but it's going to give you more sustain. I'm assuming here that it's blue and red buff. It's going to give you more sustain in jungle. Also, it's going to give you a little more damage early on, but I didn't put that here, but more sustain and damage or in the jungle for mana is going to be huge because you're less dependent on the blue buff, meaning that counter jungler once again is becoming less and less significant. It doesn't matter whether you lose your blue buff early on or if you cannot get your blue buff early on for some reason, because these buffs are going to provide you with mana anyway. And then maybe depending on the duration of the buffs, it's going to incentivize earlier ganks, because if you have a red buff from, for example, the raid camp, so you get a red buff and a blue buff from that, you might be able to get into mid lane, gank with red buff, or with the small red buff, I would call it. And maybe that'll work, but it depends on the duration, because as far as I saw, when you walk to the mid lane, the buff already times out, because it's really short duration. Anyway, we'll have to see about that, but yeah, more on that later, I guess, once we know what the actual buffs are, how long they last, and how they'll work out for the junglers. So, on to the systemic changes then. First of all, health pots heal less, which means that early game aggression will be better rewarded. I like that. I really like that. You're going to have less sustain in lane. It also makes the relative healing from supports a bigger deal, because if you cannot rely on health potions, you're going to have to rely on the life gain from your supports. So that's a big deal. But yeah, with less sustain in lane, you're going to have the choice between recalling or risking to die. That's a good thing. It gives you a choice between two things, and if you take the risk of staying in lane, you take the risk of basically dying to some harassment. But if you recall, you're going to lose experience and gold. And I like that because it rewards early game aggression. So this one I completely agree with. It is a really good change. They might also have changed just to give an alternative, which I think would be better even. They might have turned the health potions into what Warcraft 3 used as health potions. Basically, if you get damaged by anything, then your health potion just stops working. That would have been awesome too, because then you would have to retreat for a while, kind of like Garen's innate ability. Once you get damaged, your health gain stops. So if you retreat in your lane, you lose experience, but you lose only a small amount of experience and gold. You don't have to recall all the way back to base and then come running all the way back, because to me that is just too much punishment for, well, basically AD carries, for example, going up against Caitlyn. Caitlyn who has incredible harass, and that harass is going to be worth more, basically. So we'll have to see how that works out, but in general, I think this is a good idea. I just think the choice they made to do it like this is not that good. Then, less damage to champions. It's going to allow early aggression, because it pays off more. You're going to get damaged less. So basically the difference between your health and their health is going to, well, it's going to benefit the attacker. And that is exactly what you would want from early aggression if you want to make this game a little more aggressive. So yeah, sure. The problem with it is that you no longer have protection from minions. So if you're Teemo, and if you're Teemo in top lane, for example, you are going to rely on the damage that the minions do to protect you against early aggression. Because if someone gets aggressive towards you, you're really squishy. So they are going to want to harass you, because every time they hit you, it's going to take out a big chunk of your health. But as long as there are minions in lane, you're relatively safe, so you can farm. And if they want to harass you, they're going to get damaged more than you do. So that's kind of the deal. And now with this change, it means that you no longer can rely on the damage that minions do, because this damage is going to be lower. And yeah, I think this is going to be to result in more tanky DPS play. So top lane is never going to be occupied by anything but tanky DPS, and mid lane will probably also go even more to tanky DPS. So top lane was already mostly tanky DPS, and mid lane, yeah, now we still see champions like LeBlanc and such who can stay behind their minions, because if they get harassed, they can do a whole lot of damage back with the help of the minions, and that will decrease. So, well, LeBlanc is probably a very bad example here, because she can do damage on her own pretty well. But there are several other champions that have exactly the same problem. Anyway, I'm assuming you get the point here. Then less slow from Lizard buff from melee champions. It means less successful ganks, especially early on. You're going to have to rely on your champion's abilities a whole lot more. So champions that are in the jungle that have their own CC are going to be way stronger than, for melee champions of course, than champions that do not have CC on their skill tree. So basically some of the junglers are going to have more of a problem, such as Warwick, who only has a level 6 gank in this case, because he cannot slow them enough to actually get a successful gank off. And I think people will stay in the jungle more, which means that you get less ganks, and which is exactly the opposite of what they wanted to achieve with the rest of their changes. They wanted to make a more aggressive game, and now it's going to be less aggressive. Anyway, it will mean that the Lizard buff is going to go to ranged champions more often. So bottom lane will, for example, if you're on the blue team, will come for the Lizard buff much earlier. Probably the first Lizard buff will already go to the bottom champion, because ranged champions don't get this debuff or this nerf. And I think that will result in some interesting play. It also means that your lanes are no longer symmetrical, because if you're on the purple team, the red buff will go to the top lane, if he can actually get it, because the top lane is all alone. And so the top lane champion cannot really get out of the lane, get the red buff, get back into lane, because by then he will have lost a whole lot of experience and gold for his team, while in the bottom lane you still have the support who can pick up the experience and pick up the gold. So this once again makes the game more asymmetrical, which is not what you want for this game. It is already way too asymmetrical for the professional teams. For us noobs it doesn't really matter, but this is going to matter even for us. So you might have noticed that, as so often, I do not agree with the measures they took to achieve their goal, and I am going to now demonstrate that you can actually achieve the same goal but with a different approach, an approach that will not make the game so asymmetrical, and an approach that actually lets you choose a little bit more whether or not you want something, instead of just affecting the whole game. And especially the asymmetry is a really big deal, in case you didn't get that. So what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve two things, namely lower summoners can jungle. So basically you want to jungle maybe at level 10 for the first time. Well, my first question here is why? Why would you even want that? Lower level summoners have so many problems already. They cannot really go jungling. There's no reason to. Anyway, then jungling should be possible with a non-perfect setup. And yeah, I have no idea why they put this in there, because it's already possible. Anyway, yeah, I have no clue what they're trying to do here. In my opinion, they're trying to solve problems that aren't there. Lower level summoners can jungle perfectly. The only problem they have is that the top lane, if they jungle and the enemy does not jungle, The top lane is going to be a 1v2 lane. They're going to lose horribly and they're going to lose the game. Yeah, well, that's the way it is. I mean, I've played enough low-level games to know that is the way it is. People cannot hold 1v2 lanes and you will lose because of that. Not because you will not get any advantage of your jungler, basically. And yeah, jungling possible with non-perfect setup, that's just the stupid point to begin with, because it is already possible. I will demonstrate that for you in the end of this video. I will jungle with Warwick with nothing. No masteries, no runes, just Warwick. And if I can do it without any masteries, without any help whatsoever of things that you would get from being higher level summoners, then why would you need to change it? I mean, even a level 10 summoner has 10 points to put into whatever he wants to make his jungling more effective. And well, we'll see about it. We'll see in the end of the video. So going forward from this, I am going to get some way to reproduce the results of lower summoners can jungle. That's my result I want. The easiest way to do it is to create a jungle item. Like, first of all, let's try Matter's Razors. Matter's Razors gives you a chance to do 500 extra damage for 1000 golds, and you get some extra damage, you get some extra armor from that, and you can build it into Matter's Blood Razors. So all in all, that costs 1000 gold. So for 475 gold, I want an item that does nothing else than plus 100 magic damage versus minions. You cannot build it into anything else. It's going to be a Dorn's item, basically. An item that you can buy for your starting gold, and all it does is extra damage. Maybe it shouldn't cost 475, maybe it should cost 440, so you can buy a health potion as well, just to make it even or something like that. But it's not a chance that you do 100 magic damage, no, you just do 100 magic damage. You can also make it like cloth armor, but only versus minions, so that you gain an advantage in the jungle but not in the lane. So my item would be plus 100 armors versus neutral minions. Only neutral minions. I think 100 armor is a little bit over exaggerated, but you get the point. Versus neutral minions you would be a very good champion, and versus the lane minions you would still take all the damage they do. Versus champions you would still do they would still do full damage to you. So basically it is a real dedicated jungle item. And then we have two more based on innate abilities of champions. First of all, we can make it like Jizz's innate ability, which is minus 5 damage from minions. And this would work in lane as well as in the jungle. You can also make it for neutral minions only. And then up the damage reduction a little bit. Or just leave it there, I don't know. That's a matter of just tuning it to the amount of gold it should cost. But you can also just do it like Sivir's new innate ability, but then, of course, for neutral minions. So in this case, plus 20% attack speed when attacking neutral minions. How good would this item be on someone like Warwick or Nunu? Both of which have skills that will be better if you, well, both of them have innate abilities that basically are better when you attack quicker. So plus 20% should probably be upped to like 30 or 40%, I have no idea. But as I said, this is just a number. It is up to someone else to kind of test it out and see how it works. But I think this would be a decent way to do it. Then what you could also do is just create a jungle mastery. That would be the most, well, the simplest thing to do. If you could just create in your masteries an ability that you could get at level 1, which has minus 5 damage from neutral minions, or plus 50 armor versus neutral minions, or something like that. Or you do double damage to neutral minions. It is that easy. I mean, it makes you into a jungler. You don't need anything else, and even a level 1 summoner can then get that ability and can jungle. As I said, you don't even need that. You can jungle now pretty well with a number of champions. But anyway, then you could also adjust the neutral minions HP and damage to the attacking champion summoner level. I do understand this is highly undesired, but you could do it if you really want it. It will not affect the game at all. It will only affect the neutral minions based on the attacking champion summoner level. Of course, the dragon and the baron would not be affected by this, because that would be OP. So, yeah, just some suggestions. I think by doing this, you will not affect the game as much as you would otherwise. So, the second thing we wanted to achieve here was jungling must be possible with a non-perfect setup. As I said, it is already possible, so you don't have to do anything. But, okay, whatever. You can still create jungle-specific runes, masteries, items, whatever. The same as with the previous one. But to me, this is a silly result to achieve, because low-level summoners cannot hold the resulting 1v2 lane, as I said. It basically is impossible if you're like under level 20 or 30 to hold a 1 versus 2 lane, because you just don't have the experience it takes to well, to do that. And yeah, well, you will not, by doing that, or by losing your top lane, you will not get any results from your jungling. The only thing you have is that you can actually jungle, but it will never result in a game advantage, so you should never do it. Then, low-level summoners will never gank, because they have no idea how. They have enough trouble with, as the next point said, they have enough trouble learning the game. If you're still level 20, you have won maybe, I don't know, something like 75 matches. To be honest, I have no idea how the experience levels, but yeah, you don't have enough experience in the game to worry about things like jungling and ganking, and just play the game. And once you've mastered how to play in the lane, then you can go and do some stuff in the jungle and actually gank and learn these kind of things. But just in my experience, low-level summoners, even most of the level 30 summoners, will never gank, because they don't understand when they need to gank. They just think, oh, my rates are up, let me get the rates. And then once I get the rates, oh, double golems are up, let me get double golems. And then the wolves are up, let me get wolves. And they completely forget that there are 3 lanes they should be helping out, unless they are really experienced enough. But yeah, well, whatever. So my easy solutions to this problem, outside of the fact, of course, that it can already be done, is don't start jungling at level 1. If you're playing Udyr and you want to go jungling, just stay in lane until you're level 3 and then go jungling from level 3 onwards. It's as easy as that. You don't have to do anything fancy. Everyone can level with a level 3 or can jungle with a level 3 Udyr. Or Warwick or Nunu, whatever. You can choose. Then the second easy solution is jungle with easy junglers such as Nunu, Warwick, Udyr, as I said. They are good junglers. They are pretty easy to jungle with. Of course, Udyr cannot really jungle without items, but as I said, you don't have to start jungling at level 1. You're going to lose a little bit of experience, a little bit of gold by waiting for 2 levels. But if you can, by doing that, if you can actually hold the top lane and basically build up the power on the other champion that's going to hold the 1v2 lane, then this is a perfect solution in my opinion. So we are going to watch me jungle with Warwick, and as you can see I have no masteries, no runes, and I do have smite and ghost. Ghost really doesn't matter, I just had to take another one, and I didn't want to take like ignite, which you can also use for jungling. I mean, yeah, well, why not? So we're going to start off with cloth armor. You can also start off with Doran's shield. It's pretty much the same thing. It does give you extra sustain in lane, but I just wanted to demonstrate that by doing this. By the way, cloth armor with health potions is better than all of the others. But I just wanted to demonstrate that if you can jungle without any runes or any masteries, then what are you talking about wanting to change this? Why would you need to change this if it can already be done? And you only need one. I mean, it's not like you need to be able to jungle with Nocturne level 1, because there's no reason to. Nobody buys Nocturne at level 1 unless you're already really experienced in this game and yeah, you're basically building a Smurf account, but then I don't see the reason why you should be able to jungle. Anyway, Yoshi Power is going to help me by just doing some damage to the golems. He's going to do as much damage as the normal top laner would do. And normally you get a hit from mid lane, a few hits from top lane, and if you're in the other side of the map, so if you're in the purple team, you're going to have the help of the mid lane and the bottom lane. And actually you normally get more support there, because the support can heal you up or can do more damage, because he doesn't need to be in lane really early on. So he can just help you out a whole lot more until you can actually smite the blue buff. And we will see that I will actually get pretty low here at blue buff, because, well, blue buff is really strong. And as I said, if you're on the other side of the map, you won't have this problem. Yeah, I completely lose track of the blue buff here, or the golem. Yeah, that's because I don't jungle enough, and I use my smite way too early, but that's just, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to not get ganked here. I know I'm going to get really low, so that's why I used it really early on, to make sure that my last hit would actually be as quickly as possible. So as I said, you can do this in many different ways. You shouldn't start at blue if you're new to jungling. I wanted to demonstrate that it can actually be done. So as you can see, I'm using health potions to just stay alive. I'm going from blue to wolves, to raids, to double golems, and then I'm going to attempt red just to see whether I can do it. And we will see in a minute if I actually can, but most junglers cannot go red the first time around, because they just don't have the sustain to keep to stay alive. Because to do that you would need a lot of health, because he does a lot of damage, and you would need a decent amount of mana, because you will need your skills to actually do this. So as I said, we're going to raids now. I should have used smite on the big raid and therefore not take that much damage. But yeah, as I said, I'm not an experienced jungler. If you smite the big raid really early on, then you will not go this low. I'm still only at 50% HP. You can do it way better. But it doesn't matter. I'm just proving that it can be done. And that the changes they are making are basically useless. Yoshi in the meantime is having some fun with the bots. Already has 2 kills. So I'm pretty much full health here. I'm not losing any health either. Well, not a lot anyway, because I can heal up with my Q and with my innate ability. I also still have 1 healing potion, which could help me out if I needed it. But all in all, I don't. So I should have gone back here, but I wanted to check whether or not I can get the red buff. So I'm asking them to, can I do this? And well, because I was actually online with or on Skype with Yoshi Power and Fudgefiend. I was asking them, can I do that? And one said, no, you cannot. And the other said, yeah, you can. So I decided to just go for it. As you can see, I just ran out of mana, so I cannot use my Q. And yeah, therefore I cannot do this because I don't have any healing potions left. So basically I was going to die, but yeah, you just shouldn't try it. That's the whole point. So going back here, and I'm going to buy, I don't know, I forgot. I think only the blade, the longsword. Yeah, so I cannot afford the Madras Razors yet. Had I killed the red buff, so with a little bit more mana basically, I would have been able to afford Madras Razors immediately. And with Madras Razors, jungling becomes so easy. Because you don't need anything more than that. It does 500 extra damage once every 6.7 times. So that's basically a whole lot of damage. And of course it is random number generated, so I don't like the fact that it's random number generated, but it is a really effective item. And you can get really lucky with it and kill the lizard in 3 swipes, but you can also get really unlucky with it and have the same problem that I have now. Namely that it takes a whole lot of time. But you can see I can easily kill this red buff, and with the red buff and level 4 I can do pretty much anything. So this is, as I said, without any without any runes, any masteries, so anyone can do this. And I'm pretty sure that if I made the video again, I could stay higher at blue, so higher HP. I would smite the blue wraith immediately, and therefore not take as much damage there. And I would skip the red buff the first time around, or ask some help from one of my teammates or whatever. Basically, you can do it a whole lot better than I just did it, but yeah, I just want to demonstrate it's possible, and it is possible. And yeah, you can argue, yeah, you went really low on the blue buff, but yeah, if junglers wouldn't go low, what would be the fun of it? I mean, this way you can actually get counter ganked. You can get killed because you're doing something risky. You can also take the safe jungle route, which doesn't give you as much experience, not as much gold, but it does give you a safer amount of HP basically. So you can choose to go blue first, but you don't have to. All in all, I think it's an apt demonstration that this is totally unnecessary. So this new jungle modification, and I don't think it is a good thing for the game, but yeah, well, there's so many things they still need to do, and they keep doing the wrong things, and that kind of annoys me. Hence maybe the negative tone you get from this video. I do agree with some of the changes, just not all of them. So I will see you next time.